This episode of Hot Cup Cold Case contains disturbing details about a violent crime and may not be appropriate for some listeners. I'm Brant.
I'm Rachael.
I'm Kelsey.
And this is Hot Cup,
Cold Case,
where every couple of weeks we get together to share with you two things that keep us up at night. And one is a hot cup of caffeine, and two is a cold case. And we're going to present some stories tonight. None of us has any idea what the other person is going to share, but Kelsey has a cold case for us.
It's ice cold.
Rachel's got a closed case.
I do.
And I've got a fun mugshot story to share with you guys with a twist you won't see coming.
Yes. So before I just thought of this, we should yell shot, 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 right?
To bring on the mugshot?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. And then we could play that right before you. Like, that'll be the little transition audio cue.
That'll be the intro.
Someone was listening to the podcast and said it sounds like we're pouring Coke or something. And I'm like, it's coffee. So I don't know.
Did they think it sounded really, like, bubbly?
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh.
You know, I actually, when I was
cracking
trying
up.
to find the right sound for our podcast, I found out that there is a very thin line between someone pouring a cup of coffee and the audio of someone just peeing into a bowl.
Yeah.
Oh, God, so gross.
Because you want, like, a slight hiss from the steam. I was talking about the cup of coffee.
I was about to say, I don't know why your pee is hissing, but you might need to go get that checked out.
Because it's hot.
Brant did not like
As a
any-
father, I am completely immune now to any bodily fluids
Yeah.
He just
and
hates
their
them.
excretion.
Ugh.
Process?
That's a terrible word, right? That word.
Excretion?
Yes.
Isn't that a
gross.
dirty word? Let me just whisper that into the mic one more
Ooh.
time. Excretions.
Disgusting! Stop!
Oh.
God, you're so weird.
God.
That bouncy ball seems
Okay.
especially loud tonight.
It's like Cirque du Soleil over here.
Okay, I'll try to stay very still. I'm in a lot of pain, okay?
Back is aching. Her fingers are on fire.
Mostly my fingers.
Oh, Rachel's joints are acting up? Surprise, surprise.
You burned yourself on an iron?
Rachel's gonna throw something at me.
Good thing it was just a bottle cap.
It's just a bottle cap.
This time, now she's going to throw her readers at you.
Her readers. Next thing is gonna come my way
A
is the
TV
dentures.
guide. Oh,
A Reader's Digest.
Okay. I forgot. Gang up by Rachel. I forgot.
it's not your birthday unless we do.
It's true. It's true.
Again, this is how we show love.
Yeah, I feel very loved out.
Oh yeah, it's Rachel's birthday. Come back to us, Rachel. Roll back up on the ball. I don't think this is gonna work.
Rachel,
The
look.
relationship
Should we
between you and that exercise ball
Should we just sit on the floor?
is strenuous at best.
Would that be better for you?
Okay, let me get a chair.
So a friend of mine at work who listens to the podcast heard how many times we hear strange noises in our
Yeah.
apartment while we're recording. And he decided to bring something into work for me this week. So I'm going to give it to Rachel
That's so nice.
from John, for Rachel's birthday.
Oh,
But
okay.
he gave us a brand new
What?
Ring doorbell.
Aren't those not cheap?
John!
So that
You're
we
freaking
can
amazing!
John, this is a little rude because I don't know how long you've known Brant and Rachel, but I've known them for like 4 years, and I do consider them some of my closest friends, and I did not get them anywhere nearly as nice a gift as this. So I think this is just...
John
I
is
don't
our
know.
new bestie.
friendship is the true gift, guys.
My present
But
is
also,
your present.
these rings are nice, right?
They're so
Am I right?
nice. This
This
is truly the gift of life.
amazing! Oh my god.
John has given us the gift of
Thank
life.
you, John.
I mean, of
Thank
a
you.
sound mind, a calm
This is
heart.
awesome.
Yeah, so now
Okay, we're gonna take a brief moment, pause while Brant goes and installs this.
So if you want to be our friend, all you have to do is buy us nice things.
Yeah, that's it.
Or
It will move
food.
you from acquaintance to bestie.
That's the moral of the story.
Yeah. They're really easy to please.
Also, Kelsey did make you this fantastic birthday card.
Mhm.
It is amazing. We will be putting a picture of it on Instagram and Facebook because it looks like a serial killer wrote it, and I love it.
Which means
How long does
looks
it
like-
take you to clip all those magazine clippings out?
to clip? Not long. To organize and be happy with it, like 2 hours.
Oh my god,
That's amazing.
But also, I'm not crafty.
Did it?
It's amazing.
Thank you. You're really good at writing ransom notes. Is essentially
Best gift I've ever received.
You're a natural, Kelsey.
Yes, you're a
Thank
natural.
you.
Did it give you an appreciation for what it really takes
Yeah.
someone to put together a ransom note?
You
like
know
this?
what? I think it made me reflect on how everything was spelled. Your name messes me up every time with that extra A in there.
That's the right way.
Okay. I mean, yes.
Yes.
But it kind of felt a little silly. Like, it really is a great kid's craft,
Oh,
except
cool.
for it's not.
We're gonna do that this week in our homeschool preschool. We're gonna
Yes.
learn to make ransom letters.
Guys, it'd be so good though. And I want to also apologize in advance for any sniffling that Brant can't edit out. I
Sorry
had a
about
sinus
that.
infection for the past 2 weeks, and I just got my voice back too. So
Oh, and it's such a beautiful voice. So
Thank you.
the world will be so sad
Thank
without
you.
it.
thanks.
Oh, and let's give a shout out to Hannah.
Hi, Hannah.
Thank you
Hey, Hannah.
for loving us and following us. And Emily with 2 E's. And Sydney.
Hi, Sid. I love you.
We love you too.
You're the light of my life.
Oh, God. All right, and real quick, Ruth, this is for you.
We love you, Ruth.
Sure to drive her mad.
Yes, she hates that.
Also, we got our first 100 downloads this week,
Woo!
Yay.
which was super exciting.
We are really excited about that.
So this week I was telling Rachel that I would love to get a pop filter for our microphone for recording the
What's that?
podcast.
Okay, so she doesn't know what it is either.
Is that the fuzzy thing?
Yeah, it's like
And
a
it makes it look
It's like a
the
shield.
oh, okay.
yes, it's like that big
Yeah.
disc that singers sing into,
And
and
they like hold
was-
their headphones.
yes.
Yeah.
And I told Rach, I was explaining it to Rach, and I told her the reason it'd be great to have one is because they protect the quality of the audio
Oh,
from your T's and your S's.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
And my wife thought that a pop filter was to protect the audio from your teasing essence.
It's like, what does that even mean? He's like, your T's and your S's?
Your
And I'm
teasing
like,
S's.
Oh,
I'm
I
sorry.
swore you said teasing S's.
I want
And
that
I'm
on a
like, What
shirt.
is that?
I told
I
Rach,
want
I
that
said,
on a
I don't
shirt.
think there's anything in the world that can protect us from your teasing
Your-
essence.
A teasing essence.
I thought it was
Hashtag
hilarious.
teasing essence.
Also, Rach is mad at Kelsey and I because we have never listened to Up and Vanished with Payne Lindsay.
No.
I know. I hate both of you.
Sorry.
They shouldn't even be able to have a podcast if they're not going to listen to one of the best podcasts out there.
So you were telling me about him this week, and one of the things you said is that Payne Lindsay
Mhm.
is a very good-looking fellow.
Okay,
And I
now
was
Is that
like-
what you led with? Is that what you led with?
no.
First of all, so handsome.
You have
Second
to
of
listen to Up
all,
and Vanished.
he's
Payne
so
Lindsay.
hot.
Yeah. And I was like, hold up. And I literally stopped everything and Googled Payne
You
Lindsay
can
immediately.
hear- yeah.
And you know what I walked away with? Me and Payne Lindsay kind of look alike. And I was like, you know what? I'm okay with this.
Well, now I
Yeah,
have
I'll
to,
take
hold
it.
on.
I'll
He
take
is
it.
a good-looking fellow.
Like-
I am pretty much just the bearded version of Payne
Oh
Lindsay.
gosh. Okay, don't get
Very
great.
interesting. Can you hear his attractiveness in his voice? That's what I want to know.
He
Yes.
does have a beautiful voice.
Yes, he does.
I was swooning
Were you?
with radio rental.
Was it like you were hearing yourself? Like a little bit?
Yeah, but sorry,
You're like,
Payne, you don't have anything on the Wheezy lap.
It's the same feeling I get every time I look in the mirror or listen to our own podcast.
You're like, it's like, did you say it's like looking in a mirror, or was I just about to say?
Oh my god.
How do you spell Peyton?
No,
No,
Payne.
Payne.
Payne. I'm not looking at your notes. Wow, Brant.
Oh,
thank
he
you
does
for
kind
that.
of look like you.
Look at that
Look
thought.
at that. Look at that thought.
Like, he's thinking. That's what it is.
He does look very thoughtful in this
He
picture.
does. You can tell he's thinking about something.
Payne Lindsay, the modern day thinking man. This whole podcast is really becoming quite the plug
Yeah.
for Up
Hey,
and Vanished.
we better make some money off of this, Payne. Or you could just have us on your next episode. That will suffice.
Would you be able to control yourself? I actually think the universe would combust because you
If me and Payne are in the same room together,
everything just starts melting.
the Matrix starts glitching.
Oh my god.
So, Kelsey,
Yes.
do
Brant.
you have a clue for us
Oh,
about
shoot.
your cold case?
I will say it's the death of a notable literary figure,
Oh.
Interesting.
which is reflective of his work.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's my clue. I mean, it's a teaser. Teasing essence.
Shut up.
Let me guess.
Yeah.
Is it Edgar Allan Poe?
Ah!
Okay, I was thinking that too.
Well, then either my clue was really good or it
I'm
was
gonna-
really bad and that it wasn't hard at
No,
all.
it was really good.
It is. This is the mysterious death of Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited.
Guys, we're going back to the 19th century again.
Okay, let's do it.
My favorite of centuries.
We time travel a lot
Yeah,
on this
we do.
podcast.
I love to time travel. So it's election day on October 3rd, 1849 in Baltimore, Maryland. So Joseph W. Walker is a compositor for the Baltimore Sun, which a compositor, I just looked this up because
Why are you looking at me as if I'm
What's
the only
a-
one that's not going to know what the word
What's-
means?
I'm looking at my captive audience.
No, you're looking at me.
So Rachel,
You didn't look at Brant.
in case you don't know what a compositor
Thank
is.
you.
No, so a compositor is the person that arranges the text and the pictures in the printing press
So
for
like
the newspaper.
Brant, it's like graphic designer.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, this is a
Okay.
19th century Brant. He's
All right.
walking to Gunner Hall, which Gunner Hall was a pop-up polling location. It was election day. People were going to vote. He had to go cover it. On his way to the polling location, Walker sees a man laying in a ditch kind of far ahead, but he doesn't really, he can't see who exactly it is. But the closer he gets, he starts to realize who it is. And it is the renowned Edgar Allan Poe. So he's dressed in dirty
happened?
clothing. He's incoherent. He's still conscious, but he's not really with it. So Walker stops to help Poe and ask if there's anybody nearby that he can contact for him so they could help him out. Poe was able to give him the name of Joseph E. Snodgrass.
I went to junior high with a Snodgrass.
You did?
I did.
Poe gave him that name?
Yeah, so he was
Oh.
coherent enough to say, Snodgrass. But you know why he did was Snodgrass was a magazine editor.
Oh, so he was
he-
well known.
I don't know if he was necessarily well known, but since Walker was also in the publishing, printing realm, he probably would have at least recognized the name. But Snodgrass, alongside being a magazine editor, he also happened to have some medical training, which I don't know, is that like a little bit of first aid?
It was his side hustle.
Yeah,
I
he's
thought you were
like,
gonna say
it's just a hobby.
he was like the coroner or something.
He's a coroner. He definitely writes the obituary section.
That is
Oh
a
my
weird
God.
resume.
Isn't that strange? So Walker takes this to heart and he quickly writes a letter to Snodgrass asking for help. And we have that letter here. So
Interesting.
Walker writes, "Dear Sir, there is a gentleman rather the worse for wear at Ryan's 4th Ward polls who goes under the I should have figured out how to say this word. Cognomen, I think it's cognomen, of Edgar A. Poe, and who appears in great distress. And he says he's acquainted with you. He is in need of immediate assistance. Yours, in haste, Joseph W. Walker. So about a week before Poe was found, he left Richmond, Virginia, and was headed to Philadelphia to deliver some of his poems to Mrs. Marguerite St. Leon Loud. I swear, these people have the craziest names.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't heard of her before, but she was a minor American poet at the time. But clearly, Poe never made it to Philadelphia. After he was found by Walker, Poe only survived for 4 days. Now, during those 4 days, it was reported that he had fits of delirium and was gripped by visual hallucinations. And that was according to Dr. John J. Morin. And Dr. Morin also said that he kept calling out for Reynolds.
Okay.
Do we know what Reynolds?
We don't know what Reynolds or who Reynolds is.
That's interesting.
Still a mystery. But then after 4 days, Poe died on October 7th. And the death certificate says phrenitis, or swelling of the brain, was the cause of death. But there's a lot of speculation about what actually caused his death.
Yes, please tell us.
Do you want to hear
more.
some of these theories?
We sure do.
Yes, please.
So here are some of the theories. I'm not going to go through all of them because there's 9. So I'm just going to go through the ones that I think are the most interesting.
Okay. Hit us with your top, what is it, like a top 3?
We'll go with like maybe 3 or 4.
Okay.
So the first one is cooping. Do you guys know what cooping is?
Sure don't.
No, but I'm already a fan.
Already.
Right? It comes back to D.B. Cooper. So apparently cooping was a method of voter fraud in the 19th century.
Okay.
Where ruffians would... ruffians.
What is this? Tangled?
Would it is. Tangled up in some
What is
nasty...
this, a Disney movie?
Yeah. Yeah, it's more of a Tim Burton Disney movie, let's be real.
We'll
A
get in
Tim
trouble.
Burton movie about Edgar Allan Poe, starring Johnny Depp, obviously.
Of course, and Helena Bonham Carter.
With the musical inspiration of Queen. He was a Poe boy. From a Poe family.
You're gonna have to copyright that.
It would be a musical, definitely.
Yeah. So cooping is a method of voter fraud where ruffians would kidnap unsuspecting victims, and they would disguise them and then force them to vote for certain candidates at different polling stations. And sometimes, they would use violence to frighten them into complicity. And it was really common in Baltimore around the mid-1800s. So the fact that Poe was found beaten up at a polling site is really not coincidental.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It doesn't really explain why he was mumbling the name Snodgrass.
Yeah.
Why was he dirty?
Well, Snodgrass was a person he was asking to help him.
Oh, okay.
And then why he was dirty was he threw
Fell
him in the
down a
dirt.
few
He was
times
in
or
a
what?
ditch. Like he was
Oh,
in
poor
the
guy.
guttery, So that's the first theory.
Okay.
So the second theory, there was a public health researcher in the late 90s that argued that Poe's death could have resulted from carbon monoxide poisoning because coal gas was used for indoor lighting during the 19th century. So the public health researcher that argued this even took clippings of Poe's hairs to test them for heavy metals.
Mhm.
Okay.
And the test was inconclusive, so it discredited his own theory. The third theory, which I think is really interesting, is rabies.
Okay.
Rabies.
Yeah. There is obviously a long list of symptoms.
Is one of the symptoms shouting Reynolds?
Reynolds!
As you die?
What if it was? Oh, that would be scary. Okay, so also in the late 90s, there was a doctor that was, they were going through, I think, some different records, and there were symptoms of an anonymous patient, a writer from Richmond, whose initials were EP. And according to EP's supervising physician, Dr. J.J. Morin, does that name sound familiar?
Yeah.
He had admitted EP into the hospital due to lethargy and confusion. And then once he was admitted, EP's condition went downhill quite quickly. And he was delirious. He was hallucinating. And Within 4 days, the median length of survival after the onset of serious rabies symptoms, EP was dead.
I'm gonna be honest with you. You sound like you have rabies. Tell me the
I
story.
know. Well, when
Like
you
The
were like
Office.
confusion and lethargy, I'm like, do I have rabies?
Kelsey suddenly starts shouting, Reynolds!
Reynolds!
Okay, I'm taking my tank off.
Why don't you just narrate the whole disrobing for our listeners?
Hey. Ba-da-ba-ba-da.
We could get a lot more ratings that way.
We're desperate. Take your readers off.
I am so-
I think we all wheezed. All three of us wheezed.
That was a
that
triple
time.
Weezer.
Oh my god. Oh, you have to take that out. Oh my god.
Oh, that is definitely staying in. That is pure audio gold.
Oh my gosh.
Especially because no one can see what's happening right now.
Oh my
And in just
gosh.
reality, she's just putting on her little Beauty and the
Ugh.
Beast sweatshirt.
Yeah, my mask.
Yeah, in reality, you're actually putting on more
Yeah.
clothes because you're cold. Yeah.
So the last one is murder.
Obviously.
all right.
Obviously.
Obviously.
So there is a theory that Poe was murdered by the brothers of his wealthy fiancée, Elmira Shelton.
What?
He had a fiance?
I know, I didn't know
A
that.
wealthy
He
fiancé?
had a wealthy fiancée.
So
I
he
think-
wasn't going to be Poe for
I'm
long.
wondering if this was after.
Did you hear him? He goes.
He's not going to be a Poe boy anymore?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw it. I just kind of like.
Yeah, she was just like, that's not funny.
So Poe was supposedly murdered by the brothers of his fiancée, Elmira Shelton. So they used newspapers and letters and memoirs to kind of piece this theory together that Poe actually made it to Philadelphia, where he was then ambushed by her three brothers who were super against him marrying their sister.
Why?
I think probably because he was
Weird.
Reaper?
yeah, maybe he he married his cousin, so I don't know if that was like super cool that
He may have been known around town
not in a
for
good
being
way.
that guy.
Yeah, and then if they're wealthy too, they're like he's a gold digger.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So if he was frightened by them threatening him, it's possible that he disguised himself in different clothing and then hid in Philadelphia for a week before heading back to Richmond to marry Elmira. But then Shelton's brothers could have intercepted him in Baltimore, beaten him up, forced him to drink whiskey, which they knew would send him into a deadly sickness. So they theorized that, they beat him up, threw him in a ditch, and that's essentially how he ended up there. But this whole murder plot was only plausible, but not wholly persuasive. So it's of little value to literary scholars. So those are just a couple of the possible explanations of what happened to Edgar Allan Poe. There was some too where it was like he drank too much booze, or like he had a brain tumor.
A severe peanut allergy, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe he just tripped and fell. It's like The Office when they have the fun run for the cure.
Yeah.
For rabies, they're like 6 people
Oh my God.
die from rabies every year.
Oh my gosh, The Office.
Including, maybe, Edgar Allan Poe.
150 years ago. Guys, we're gonna cure it. We're gonna cure it.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, that's the story, the poorly told story of Edgar Allan Poe.
Kelsey's half asleep tonight.
I can't. Words. I've written so many words this week.
You really have.
I had 2 precursor projects to the main research projects that I'm doing for school. And of course, they're due within 2 days of each other.
Yeah.
On top of our normal work. So it was just a lot of writing and a lot of reading.
Is your brain swelling?
Yeah. Phrenitis of my brain.
Ugh.
Do you wake up screaming, Reynolds?
No, just, oh my God, no. No, don't make me write another annotated bibliography.
Thesis?
Oh, God.
Syllabus?
Reception history. Wake up in a cold sweat. There's delirium and hallucinations of my failure.
Oh my God. Y'all
Yeah.
are crazy.
Oh.
So that was my week.
Well, Rach, do you have a clue for us about your closed case tonight?
I have a serial killer who told the press what he wanted to be called.
That is super
Is
creepy.
that good? Okay, good.
That is the worst.
Yeah, he
But
is the worst.
That's like another level of arrogance.
Narcissism?
I feel like it's a whole nother level of depravity when you come up with what you feel like
Right.
is a cool name
Yeah.
Yeah.
for the horrible things you're
Yeah.
doing.
Right.
You're like making yourself a superhero in a weird, twisted way.
In a
Yeah, it
super
does.
weird way.
Or you're trying to.
It does give you a glimpse into the mind of a killer.
The first case I did was in Michigan. The second case I did was in Texas. And the third case is in Kansas.
All places we've lived.
All places we've lived.
Did you do that on purpose?
I did. So ours takes place in Wichita, Kansas.
Oh
Or around
my God.
Wichita.
Yep, that's what I thought.
Yes.
I still don't.
Okay,
this
Brant, who do you think it is?
This is the case of BTK.
isn't- Oh, I have heard of him.
You're
Yeah.
right. Now, from this point on, I'm probably not going to refer to him as BTK because I just feel like I'm just like,
playing into it.
yeah, playing into it. Like,
Yeah.
no, buddy.
Isn't his name Dennis?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
we're
Dennis.
gonna bring him down a couple notches by
Yeah.
calling him Dennis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dennis.
Dennis the Menace.
Yeah, he really was.
I'm
So,
glad I have my tissues. Let me get one.
it would be better if we had cough drops, but now those are banned from the podcast.
Yeah, so now we can't be on our menthol high.
Yeah,
Because we
thanks,
talk
Brant.
about really sad things.
Now you just show up with rabies.
Yeah.
And you have to try to edit out all of your
Just again,
sniffles.
lethargy and confusion. My memoir.
That's every mom ever.
I have a feeling this is the last time we'll be laughing for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. So, okay, so he grew up in Wichita, Kansas, which
Mhm.
was 30 minutes from where we were. Crazy. Both of his parents worked super long hours and they never paid attention to him, especially his mom. So this will come into play later as well.
Mm,
He was just a different type of child.
mm.
According to several reports, including his own confessions, as a child he tortured animals,
Ooh.
which is a
Oh.
really big warning sign in the McDonald triad. And he also
What's the McDonald triad?
Oh, it's setting things on fire, bedwetting, and torturing animals.
Really? So
That's-
people who fall in the center of that, who
Mhm.
have done all three of those
Yeah.
things, are
They tend
considered to be well on their way to becoming a
Yeah.
serial killer.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's usually bedwetting after the age of like 12. So when it's like
Okay.
not really normal, like when you're older.
After the age of 5, not 12.
Is it after 5? Okay.
He also harbored a sexual fetish for women's underwear, and he would later steal them from his victims and wear them
Ooh.
himself.
Yikes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Man, we're just getting into this
Yeah, we
one.
are.
I'm
we
not
are. I
ready
always
for
bring the
this.
most like crazy cases
And I'm like,
to the table.
Let's talk about poetry. Dead poets.
Yes. No. So he spent 4 years in the U.S. Air Force.
Mm.
Yeah, he was stationed in Texas, Alabama, South Korea, Greece, and Turkey, in Okinawa. And when he returned to the United States, he
Mhm.
moved to Park City.
Right where we live.
I know, it's pretty crazy.
We have literally been
I
in
know.
this guy's hunting ground.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes. Oh.
Yep.
Ooh.
So, if you don't know the BTK, what BTK stands for, those initials stand for binding, torturing, and killing.
Oh no.
Yeah. He went to college in Wichita. He graduated with a bachelor's degree in administration of justice. And what is that?
I don't know, but
Is
it
it
sounds
was-
like the
I think-
exact opposite
yeah,
of
yeah.
serial killing.
I think he needs a refund.
It's slightly ironic though.
Yes. So when he got back to Park City, he ended up marrying Paula Dietz in May of 1971, and they had one son and one daughter. It's from this point on that he would have portrayed two completely separate lives.
Mm.
I don't know how
So
people can do
weird.
this. I don't know how they can
So-
fool people,
Yeah.
but truly lived a double life. So from 1972 to 1973, he worked as an assembler for the Coleman Company. So like the camping gear
Oh, yeah,
firm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So after he worked there, he did a couple other things, and then he worked at the Wichita-based Office of ADT Security.
This story is full of so many ironies.
Yeah, so that company sold and installed alarm systems for commercial businesses and homes. He held several positions while at ADT, including he was an installation manager.
Oh, no.
Which means he's in people's homes.
So it's believed that that's how he learned to defeat home security systems, while he worked there. And many people got these security systems to protect themselves from him.
Oh my
Yep.
God.
I know. I can't make this crap
You said
up.
this was in the 70s? I'm just
Yes.
trying to
So
think of like what a 70s
did.
home alarm or home security system would be like.
Instead of floodlights, it's like disco balls.
Yeah.
Start spinning.
And then like,
Oh my god.
Soul Train comes on.
The police show up on
Soul
roller
Train.
skates.
Oh my god.
You have to dance for your life.
There's a lot of afros involved.
Sweet lord.
There's a lot of deep V's and a lot of chest hair.
Oh my god. Stop it.
So many bell bottoms.
In 1991, he then moved to be a supervisor of the compliance department in Park City. So it's a multi-functional department in charge of animal control. In this position, neighbors recalled him as sometimes being overzealous and extremely strict. One neighbor even complained that he euthanized her dog for literally no reason.
What?
Wow.
So I found a lot of my research like on Murderpedia, Wikipedia, various articles, but I also had listened to a couple other podcasts who've covered it.
Mhm.
And in one podcast, they said that when he was in animal control, he would just pick up random dogs, like maybe even from people's yards. And then he would call the family that the dog belonged to and say, you have 5 days to come pick your dog up, but you have to call me and I have to talk to you first or your dog is going to be killed. And then he would he would intentionally never answer the phone. So apparently like a lot of animals had been killed because he wouldn't ever let the
so sad.
homeowners pick him up. And we're gonna go back. So like this is 1991 when he started working for animal control, but he started his killing spree in 1974.
Oh, okay.
So I just wanted to give you a little bit of the backstory so you kind of know who we're dealing with here. In 1974, his first victims were 4 members of the Otero family. So he killed the husband, the wife, and 2 of the children. So their 15-year-old son ended up coming home and finding them.
Oh my God.
One thing that I haven't really been able to find, and thank God, is like a ton of details on the murders.
I guess everything you need to really know is in the name.
Yeah, I mean, really, binding, torturing, killing. I mean, about 3 months later,
Wow.
Catherine Bright. Now, her brother was also there. Rader had shot him twice, but the brother survived.
Oh, wow.
Then there's about a 3-year gap. 1977, Shirley Van. December 8th, 1977, Nancy Fox. April 27th, 1985, Maureen Hedge. September 1986, Vicky Wegerly. And January 19th, 1991, Dolores Davis. Dolores was the last known victim of Rader. He developed a pattern for his murders. So he would wander the city.
So
Once
creepy.
he found his victim, he would stalk the person until he knew the pattern of their lives. And then he would figure out the best time to strike.
God.
Sometimes he would stalk multiple people at a time so he could continue to hunt if one of them for some reason didn't work out.
Oh, and broke
Now-
pattern.
And it's crazy to think that he is doing this
While having a family.
maintaining a family life.
Right. You could see some of the gaps when I listed off the timeline. It's because he was busy being a dad. But then they started to progress a little bit later because his kids were starting to grow up. And in one of his confessions, which we'll get into later, he was just saying like his kids were grown and he was bored.
So that's the hobby you pick
That
up.
is messed up.
Yes. It's crazy to me again that he just led this double life because
nuts.
he served on the Sedgwick County Boards of Zoning and Appeals. He was a member of his church for 30 years of the Lutheran Church, and he was even elected president of their like congregation councils, so maybe like a board of elders, like that kind of thing.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And he also was like a Cub Scout leader and was in the church world for years. And literally none of these people had any idea. I had told you in the beginning that he had a sexual fetish for women's underwear and would steal them. Well, he also dressed in women's clothes and relived the murders.
Wait,
Yikes.
by himself?
Yes.
Killing is his drug.
And he collected things like underwear and different items of clothing, which would tie him to, you know, all of these cases.
Yeah. I just think of the logistics of hiding all of that
I know.
stuff from a family. Unless he
I
had a
know.
storage unit or something that he like would visit at weird
It's-
hours of the day.
It's I mean, I don't put it past him at all because it's super weird.
That is so strange.
He did create what he called a hit kit. So he would like
Ooh.
always have this kit with him. So it'd either be in a briefcase or like a bowling bag, but containing the items I was going to use in his murder. So like guns, tape, rope, handcuffs, and
Oh,
all sorts
Lord.
of other odd, inappropriate,
Because
disturbing things.
He's following these people around,
Right.
and when the moment presents itself, he
Exactly.
strikes.
Ooh,
Exactly.
No,
Yeah.
No.
Truly a
In a
nightmare.
bowling bag.
The
bowling
bowling bag
bag.
thing creeps me out.
I know.
I just don't
I
like
know.
bowling in general. So especially like in the 70s and 80s when it's like prime skis factor.
Let me tell you, if you see somebody in 2019
With a
going
bowling
around town
bag.
with a bowling bag,
And a bowling shirt. I'm
Run.
just kidding, guys.
So
The hit kit. Even the name. It's
I know.
It's like he has this
he has to
weird-
come up with these names and he just finds this pleasure in it, I guess. It's super, super strange. Now, that's not all of the strange things. So after 1991, he just goes like eerily silent until 2004, really. So the investigation just goes cold.
2004.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
1991 to 2004. The investigation's just cold because they don't have like a ton of stuff and it's in the 70s, so there's not.
Yeah.
There is DNA. They kept some of it, but I mean, they had nothing to do with it.
there's
Yeah.
actually a lot of cold cases right now that are simply waiting for DNA technology to become more advanced because they know they only get one shot. They may have
Yeah.
like one sample left and they don't want to waste it. And so they're just waiting for technology to catch up with their investigation.
And good for these officers who are treating these DNA samples like with the utmost
Mhm.
respect and not just wasting them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's smart.
But it has to be so frustrating. But what didn't go cold is Rader's mouth. He has to be in the spotlight. He has to have attention. He's a very big attention seeker. I have like 3 pages of notes just on like the amount of letters he sent. So in 1974, the same year that he murdered the Otero family, he stashed a letter inside an engineering book in the Wichita Public Library, which described in detail the killing of the Otero family.
And just waited for someone to find it.
He like just sets himself up for certain like
Surprises.
Yeah,
but
Like,
he also doesn't
grisly
like-
surprises.
But he also doesn't like if it takes the police too long to connect the dots, or he'll send a
Sorry,
letter to them
Dennis.
explaining it.
Dennis, you can't have
Like,
it both ways.
where things are. So he sent another letter in 1978 to the Cake television station. That's what it's Kake. He like wrote to them claiming responsibility for the murders of the Oteros, Shirley Van, and Nancy Fox, and another unidentified victim, which was assumed to be Catherine Wright. At that point, they hadn't put her name out there. It's that letter that he suggested possible names for himself, including BTK. In his second letter, like, he demanded media attention, and that's when it was finally announced that Wichita did have a serial killer. 1979, he sent 2 identical packages to the Cake television station, and he was intending on killing Anna Williams. So he became obsessed with this woman, like obsessed with her. He had obviously stalked her, followed her. He had gained entry into her home, I think multiple times.
So scary.
And one day he had decided, like, this is it. This is an ideal moment. He had stayed at her house because he knew her pattern. He knew when she was going to be home from work. And so he planted himself in her home.
Oh my God.
Just waited.
Ooh.
And waited and waited and waited. Well, what she did that night is after work, she didn't go home. She went square dancing instead.
Which must have been a life-changing decision.
Literally saved her life because he got so irritated of waiting, he just finally left.
Oh my
Guys,
God.
square dancing saved
Yes. He waited inside of her home for several hours.
Oh my Lord.
So he ended up like writing a poem about her of, "Oh, Anna, why didn't you appear?" and a drawing of what he intended to do to her and small items that he pilfered from her home. Yeah. Then there's letters in 1998 and 2004. He sent a word puzzle to the television station, and a package was found taped to a stop sign containing graphic descriptions of the Otero murders and sketches labeled "The Sexual Thrill Is My Bill." Also enclosed chapter lists for the book he was going to write about himself.
Oh my God, what a monster.
Yes.
How much free time does this man have?
Apparently a lot. In July of that same year, he dropped a package into the return slot of a public library, also containing more bizarre stuff. In 2005, he attempted to leave a cereal box in the bed of a pickup truck at Home Depot in Wichita, but the box was discarded by the owner. I guess the owner's like, what is that? It ended up being retrieved from the trash.
Police tracked it down.
Yeah, so surveillance tape showed footage of a black Jeep Cherokee leaving the box in the pickup truck. Well, that's the same car that Dennis owned. In 2004, I guess Rader, being bored again and not getting the attention that he wanted, sent a letter to the police claiming responsibility for the killings that had previously not been attributed to him. The police started corresponding with him in an effort to like gain his confidence. Rader, being like a narcissist and just so self-absorbed, asked them if it was possible to trace information from floppy disks.
Not that I have anything to hide, but like, you guys can't track anything on a floppy disk,
Like,
right?
if
Like they're
I
gonna be
did,
honest.
Like the
with
police
him.
are gonna be like,
No.
"Oh no, man, that's totally
He's like,
foolproof."
it's so weird you say that. We actually have this new program we started where you can drop off your floppy disk that you don't want anymore.
So they wrote back telling him, "Oh no, we can't track that. Of course not." So he sent a floppy disk in.
How interesting
He's an idiot.
that a killer from the 70s
I know.
downfall was understanding the technology of a frickin' floppy disk.
No, he had to be in the spotlight because he got away with it for so long.
Oh yeah.
But he just couldn't keep his mouth shut.
Yeah.
So the police department
So
quickly
dumb.
checked what's called a metadata. I
It's-
don't know, something in the
heard
floppy.
the term, but
Data embedded deep within.
Yeah. So they found a document that was like made by Dennis. So then they also found a link on there to the Lutheran Church. So they Googled Lutheran Church, Wichita, Dennis. I don't know if they Googled it, but they did an internet search. And they found his family name. They drove by his house and noticed that, oh yeah, there's a black Jeep Cherokee outside. After some time in surveillance, they arrested him in 2005. He ended up confessing.
he's probably the easiest person to interrogate. You just ask him one question about himself and it just...
Oh, for sure. I don't imagine it was hard to get him to talk about himself.
No, not at all. That he ended up filling over 20 DVDs of information of like admitting to the murders in gruesome detail.
Ooh.
Yikes.
Ooh. Ooh, no.
Oh, what?
Is that one of his hit kits?
Oh, probably.
Look at...
Oh my god, that's a picture of his hit kit.
Yeah.
Oh my god, oh
that's
my
like,
god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
I told you, like, he likes to wear women's clothing
the
and stuff.
mask.
It's weird. I know.
What are you seeing?
Let's just say it's all of it put together.
Yeah, it's
And, like,
so
a-
disturbing.
Guys, it is the most disturbing photo.
Also
One of
a
the most
bad
disturbing
blonde
photos
wig.
I've ever
Let me see
seen.
that one.
But it's Dennis wearing some type of a mask that may be some kind of clown with like a blonde wig, and of course it's a super
But it's like yellow.
blurry
It's like a
aging
yellow
photo.
blonde wig.
And it absolutely looks like something out of a horror movie.
I don't know.
Uh-uh. That.
Enjoy the Facebook ads you get with that Google search, Kelsey.
Yes.
Thank you.
So if you want to dig further in of how they like connected the DNA for him, it's pretty interesting. I'm not going to get into it, but it's super weird.
Well, you can't just say that.
Well,
Can you
you
just
thought-
give a
Yeah.
little teasing essence?
Well, shut up.
There's that teasing essence.
Okay, well, it's kind of strange.
What about this isn't strange though?
So the police figure out where he lives, and he has the same car, and you know they're connecting all these pieces, but they still have to have some like rock solid like evidence. So they really needed the DNA. So apparently, like his daughter had went to the University of Kansas, and she had went to the medical clinic on campus where they do pap smears, and they still had like a sample of her DNA.
Okay.
And they were able to link
Really?
him
Wow.
through the familial DNA.
Wow.
So it's just
Score one for
super
pap smears. Never thought I'd say
I'm
that.
gonna try to come up with a pap smear campaign. Like a smear campaign.
Ah! No! God.
Pap smear campaign.
Jesus, Lord help us.
Sorry.
All right, so in 2005, they sentenced him to serve 10 consecutive life sentences. So 1 life sentence per murder victim.
Good.
So in total, he would be eligible for parole after 175 years of imprisonment. Thank God. So he'll spend the rest of his life in prison. And he has been in solitary confinement his entire stay.
Good.
Really?
Yes.
Good.
It's for his own protection.
probably would die.
Hyphenated- Yeah.
Yeah.
So his wife ended up divorcing him the day he got arrested. I didn't know this. Like when you ask to get a divorce, there's usually like this waiting period you have to go through.
Yeah.
Like a few months almost. But the judge granted her an emergency divorce because of the circumstances and her like mental health because of it.
Yeah.
And I could find very,
Thank
very
God.
little on his family situation, but
They've probably tried to distance themselves
Oh my
from
gosh,
this whole
absolutely.
thing.
And along with the families of the victims, they too have suffered.
There's 2 schools of thought when it comes to talking about horrific crimes.
Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
first school of thought is by having a podcast like ours and talking about these murders, we might be playing right into the ego of a serial
Mhm.
killer who wants people talking about him.
Yeah.
The other school of thought is this. There are killers that want to absolutely disappear.
Yeah.
Killers that want to
Right.
absolutely be forgotten.
It's
They
true.
don't want anybody talking about their case.
Mhm.
They want to vanish.
right.
And they don't want anybody discussing the details of their case. This guy, thankfully, was caught, but there are so many cold cases out there, many of which we'll cover,
Yeah.
where the killer is still on the loose.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah, it's
wild
true.
to think that depending on when Dennis dies in prison,
Mm-hmm.
he may have spent more time hunting than he does serving time.
Oh, yeah. So that is the case of Dennis Rader, who I will never refer to as BTK again.
Dennis.
So, are you guys ready for a mugshot?
Shots.
Mhm.
Shots.
Have I got a tale for you?
Is this Veggie Tales?
The dark Veggie Tales?
Oh gosh.
Can you imagine if we animated this podcast and a bunch of vegetables just told these murder stories?
Y'all, what kind of vegetable would I be? Oh,
cute.
sweet potato. Sweet potato.
Okay,
Anyway.
sorry, Brant.
Okay, buckle up. This is a story about Crystal Lee Anderson.
Okay.
In 2015, she was angry with her brother for some reason.
Mm.
And-
I've been there.
Common.
Yeah, we've been there.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, I don't have a brother, but I would imagine.
Neither do you, Brant.
No, I am a brother, so I understand so far.
Yeah.
And she decided that she wanted to confront him.
Mm.
And at
You
a
go, Crystal. You go.
Okay, well, you might want
You might want to hold off on.
you might want to hold back there, Sparky.
Yeah.
Okay, well, my brother was 7 years older than me, and
You're all for the underdog.
yes, I am. I'm like,
Just wait.
Okay, well,
This underdog can bite.
yeah.
Right?
I don't know that she's necessarily an underdog.
okay, well, just kidding.
She decided to confront him at a Burger King in Orange County, Florida, where he worked.
Interesting locale choice.
Come on, Crystal.
I
I'm not
guess
there
she
for
knew
ya.
he would be there. Maybe he wasn't returning her phone calls. I don't know. So on May 22nd in 2015,
Oh, okay.
Crystal Lee Anderson, who is 39 at the time, marches herself inside that fast food restaurant
Yes,
with a
she does.
firearm
Oh gosh.
Oh.
and proceeds to hold everyone inside hostage.
Oh,
Crystal.
I mean, Crystal, she goes crazy. I read some reports that she was like manhandling her brother, like reached over the counter, grabbed
gosh.
him.
Dang, Crystal.
So the police eventually arrive. They're shouting at Crystal to drop her
Mhm.
weapon,
Yeah.
but she doesn't listen.
Of course not.
Why would
And she actually does quite the opposite and
Oh,
points her gun
Crystal.
Oh,
At
Crystal.
at one of the officers,
Oh, no.
which led to a shootout
Yes,
Oh,
of
at a
course.
Burger King.
at a Burger
At a
King.
Burger King.
And the shootout actually left Crystal severely injured. Turns out the gun she had was a BB gun,
Oh my
not a
Lord.
real gun.
Crystal.
And she was rushed to the hospital where doctors treated her wounds, but they were forced to amputate both of her legs.
No.
They couldn't save her legs. So
Crystal.
she's arrested and charged with armed kidnapping while recovering from the loss of her legs.
Oh my.
Well, this is where it gets funny.
A little bit.
A lot.
Okay.
in a twisted way.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Because
great.
this legless fugitive is about to run from the law.
And there you go, folks. There's tonight's wheezy laugh. You're welcome.
Here we go. She becomes a fugitive because she fails to appear at least 5 court hearings. But on May 10th, 2018, federal marshals and deputies receive a tip
Mm-hmm.
that Crystal is staying with her boyfriend,
Mm.
John Robert Carr.
Okay.
Officers arrive at the house to investigate, but John doesn't come to the door right away.
Mm.
So officers begin walking around the house
Mhm.
and peering through some windows.
Mm-hmm.
One of the officers takes a
Mhm.
peek inside a bedroom window
Uh-oh.
where he witnesses
Uh-oh.
John Robert Carr, her boyfriend,
Uh-huh.
packing his legless girlfriend
Oh, no.
into a plastic storage tote
No!
in an attempt to help her evade arrest.
Oh my gosh.
Did he think about her suffocating?
I'm,
What the
I'm not
heck?
really sure how far out this plan was thought. Was the plan just to like put her in the garage with the Christmas decorations
Like,
until the cops
Throw
left?
her up in the
God.
attic. Who cares, right? Like, what's the end game?
And how
here?
small was she to fit in a storage tote?
She was only 4 feet tall
What?
without her legs.
Oh, no. Okay. okay.
It's all it's all
Yes,
coming together
all
for you.
coming together.
No, she very much fit inside the storage tote.
Oh my God.
Make no mistake. But
Did he put like a pillow or a blanket? I'm so like,
Did he
Can
give
you-
her food and water, but really holes? Did
I-
he put holes in the storage bin?
I have so many questions. Unfortunately,
You have
he
no
never
answers.
he never got that far because
Yeah.
they saw him putting her in there,
uh-huh.
and both are now facing even more charges.
Oh.
Her for trying to evade arrest, and then him for aiding and abetting a
Oh.
fugitive.
Oh my, gosh.
Lord.
And that is the story of Crystal Lee Anderson. So this story took place in Florida. Have you guys ever heard of the Florida Man game?
Mm-mm.
Try me.
All you have to do is plug in your birthday,
Okay.
you know, the month and day you were born,
Mm-hmm.
followed like
Today!
into Google,
Okay.
followed by the words Florida Man, and you will find an article about a Florida man who has done something crazy on your
Oh,
birthday.
right.
Nuh-uh, I want to do it right
Do you
now.
know why Florida has so many crazy stories? Oh, man, I should have really thought about this before I started. Talking. No, but there is a law where they can essentially publish anything and everything. While certain states, there's limitations on what newspapers or whatever can publish about rape private citizens. So that's why we hear all of the.
Do I have to use my
Crazy.
like year?
No.
Oh,
Okay,
this is
'cause
a
I'm
good
like,
one.
I'm not finding anything.
Oh, ooh.
Okay, Kelsey, what's yours?
Florida man cited after authorities found an illegally poached gator foot stuck in his dashboard. And there's a picture, and it looks like something's crawling out
Oh my god!
crawling out of the dashboard.
That is
Okay, do you
nightmare
think
fuel.
this stuff is real? Because
No, I don't
listen to
think-
mine.
I don't think this is made up.
Florida man tries to steal car in jail lot on the way out of jail. Stupid.
Mine is Florida man worried about vampires intentionally burned down his own home.
Oh gosh.
Ooh.
So if you haven't already, listeners, plug in your month and day that you were born into a Google search engine, followed by the words Florida man, and enjoy the news articles
That
that pop up.
come up.
Let us know too
Oh,
what you
yeah.
find.
Yeah, I would love.
I'd be interested.
I would too.
I would love to know. Until next time, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Hot Cup Cold Case Podcast. We're also on YouTube, or you can email us at hotcupcoldcasepodcast@gmail.com. We are currently collecting listener stories of scary encounters that have really happened to you. And we are going to be sharing those stories pretty soon. We've had some wild ones come in already, and we're also going to be sharing some of our own personal stories of things that we've experienced or encountered. So if you've ever had something scary happen to you, a real life horror story, we would love to hear it and share it on the podcast. So you can email that to us. Or if you just want to pop in to say hi, we like that too. And also, if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast and give us a good rate and review. We would sure appreciate it. And that's another one for the books.
Yay!
Woo!
This
We
has
are
been-
all so tired. You can also take a video of yourself singing to Rachel. I can sing like Marilyn Monroe too.
Oh God, please don't.
I can't.
Hold on, let me sing to you like Delilah.
Oh gosh.
Delilah.
Delilah. They would actually sing her name as an intro to her show.
So, why we should sing our names as the intro.
No.
That would be great.
Please stop.
You guys are
Please
easy, like
stop.
Rachel and Kelsey and Brant. Mine has to be at the end.
And Brant.
Yeah, my name is the equivalent of the dial-up tone. It's like Brant.
Stop. Okay, we have to go.
All right. Next time you need your mug filled.
And your cup chill.
Wow.
Your
It's
mug
like-
filled and then chilled and then also
What did I say?
your
Spine.
Oh, spine chill.
Chill.
Let me write it down.
Your
Because you're not going to remember it
line.
2 seconds from now.
Line.
I can't guarantee anything.
Oh, if you ever need your mug filled,
Or your spine chill.
this is Hot Cup.
Cold case.
No, I don't want no scrubs. Scrubs, a girl can't get no love from me. Hanging out the passenger side, best friends right, trying to holler at me.